Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm here with you today, May 23rd of 2022, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you about the recent comments by Joe Biden over the weekend in reference to China, in reference to Taiwan, and how this affects the United States' international policy, if at all. This is a very big subject, and the world is reacting in many different ways. But it is also somewhat confusing, and we're going to try and walk you through that confusion to have a better understanding of the situation as it stands today and what might be the future consequences of this entire action. But first, we want to mention, if this is the first time that you are seeing our channel, we welcome you and thank you for being part of our audience. We do long-form political commentary. And every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do a live stream with you. We reach out on all social media that the internet overlords will allow to hear your voice from anywhere in the world, to hear what you have to say in tweets, chats, and phone calls to tell us about the issues that are affecting you. Because we believe in the First Amendment. We believe in your right to free speech, even if your government does not agree, even when the internet overlords don't like it. We hear what you have to say because you are important. And we hope that you will join us this Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to share your voice on all the issues that are important to you. We start today talking about what happened over this weekend. Joe Biden was asked questions about Taiwan, about China, and about what America's place, its plan for international policy would be in reference to those two nations. Now, we want to be very clear. This is a difficult thing to understand because there is confusion that is here. And that's not a new thing. We've seen this often when it comes to Joe Biden. Often, we are confused in what Joe Biden is actually saying and what he actually means. As an example, this is Joe Biden on March 2nd of 2020.
We have to heal our divisions, repair our democracy. And above all, it's time for America to get back up on its feet and once again fight for the proposition that we hold these truths to be self-evident. Sounds corny, not a joke. Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing. You know how we talk about it. Are we the people?
What? What does that mean? But yes, that's one time, a minor gaffe, but perhaps there's another moment that gives us more clarity about how Joe Biden speaks to the United States and the world.
Funding for the National Guard. That's a fancy way of saying governors need to be able to get funding when they need to and bring their National Guard into play. And National Guards are going to have to play this. It costs a lot of money. We talked a lot with the governors about what the immediate needs are. We're going to employ the Defense Reconstructed Act to be able to go out there and dictate companies build and do following things.
Okay, but maybe there's something better. But perhaps this is more recent. This is from April 28th of 2022. Perhaps we'll have a better understanding of how Joe Biden speaks to the nation.
That will enhance our underlying effort to accommodate the Russian oligarchs and make sure we take their ill-begotten gains. We're going to accommodate them. We're going to seize their yachts, their luxury homes, and other ill-begotten gains of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy and the guys who are the kleptocracies. But these are bad guys.
Well, it's happened again.
Joe Biden is not always so very clear in what he is trying to say to the world. And that's troubling for every nation. It's troubling when we know that some of the people behind Joe Biden, you may recall, it was General Mark Milley, spoke to China and gave them details and information that many felt were treason, including this channel when we learned about it, as he seemed to go behind the back of our former president, Trump, and gave them information critical to the safety of the United States. That's something that troubled us a lot. And yet, General Mark Milley is a key component of the Biden administration. He was key and important in dealing with Afghanistan, a complete and utter failure of the United States international policy, which effectively created the first terrorist nation in the world, also providing the Taliban with an actual army, with weapons and with firepower that never before they had ever had, and abandoning, as we had mentioned, over hundreds of Americans, perhaps thousands of Americans, to this day, that the Biden administration has neither apologized for, nor have they brought them home. Nor do we even know if there is a plan to bring hundreds of Americans back to American soil safely. But it's not the first time that we've heard things like that, where the Biden administration policy has failed on an international level. In fact, many people question whether there is a Biden-Harris international policy. It doesn't seem to exist. You may recall that it was back on December 10th of 2021 that the Biden administration, in talking about the Ukraine and pressure coming from Russia and Putin at that time, the first idea from the Biden administration and Joe Biden himself was that we should do what happened in 1938, that Joe Biden should act like Chamberlain from the United Kingdom and like the Obama administration in 2014 and suggest to the Ukraine that they should just appease Russia, to give up the eastern portion of the Ukraine, give them the land just so that Russia wouldn't take any further action. That was a troubling statement from Joe Biden in December of 2021. But it wasn't the last time that Joe Biden made troubling statements, statements that didn't quite make sense, statements that should concern most Americans. In fact, if we go to February 10th of 2022, it was Joe Biden going on national TV and telling America and the world that even if Americans were in danger, even if Americans were dying in the Ukraine, he would do nothing to help them. He would not lift a finger. He would not allow American military forces, which are nearby in Germany, and he guaranteed that he would not do so, even if they came under fire, even if they were children. It's a terrifying thought. But that is the basis of the Biden-Harris international policy. It's a statement where America is not first. Again, Joe Biden has told us many times, he is not MAGA. He is not ultra MAGA. He does not believe in the America First policy. He's been very clear on that, even just last week. And he has made it clear internationally, both in Afghanistan and in Ukraine, that the American interests aren't his first priority. He has other priorities that aren't always very well understood. So when Joe Biden this weekend in Southeast Asia was asked, would the United States protect Taiwan? And Joe Biden said, yes, that we would militarily defend Taiwan, the people of Taiwan would be very happy. And it made a very definitive statement about U.S. international policy in relation to Taiwan and China. And that was immediately walked back. But today, Monday, we are seeing that the major mainstream media are taking his words and they are reinterpreting them. They are remolding the statements that were made, both to the advantage of America and to the detraction of America. Let's be very clear on that. As an example, we go to CBS News with their coverage on May 23rd about the statements from Joe Biden.
We're going to begin in Asia, where President Biden is taking a hard line against China.
That's right. Mr. Biden declaring on day 4 of his overseas trip that the United States stands with the people of Taiwan. The comments came in response to a question from CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes about how far he is willing to go to defend Taiwan from a possible Chinese invasion.
Now, I want you to be very clear here. The question is about Taiwan, and Joe Biden is going to make a very clear statement twice. And we're being told that this is him taking a hardline stance against China, a country that through his son, Hunter Biden, as we know from the laptop that has been confirmed by the New York Times and other media 2 years earlier, that he has close ties with the Communist Party of China. So I want you to hear exactly what he says.
Willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes. We support the one China policy. We support all that we've done in the past.
He just answered two different things to that statement. He said, yes, we would defend Taiwan militarily. He also said that we would stand by and we believe in the one China policy. Now, most people in America wouldn't necessarily catch that. CBS News definitely did catch that, and they misrepresented it. Because, in fact, Joe Biden has just said two absolutely opposing statements. He said he would defend, that the United States would defend Taiwan. He also said that the United States believes in the policy of the Communist Party of China, that Taiwan is part of China. Those two things do not mutually exist together. Either we believe that Taiwan is a separate nation and we are willing to defend them, or we believe that Taiwan is part of China, and therefore if China goes in militarily, we have no place to do anything about that. They are diametrically opposed. Those two concepts result in two very different things that would change the lives of the people in Taiwan and Southeast Asia. Clarity is necessary, but clarity is not forthcoming. Now, we think in part the reason why Joe Biden is saying that yes, the United States would stand by Taiwan and that we have a commitment to Taiwan to defend it. Well, we think that he's saying that because of the Mutual Defense Treaty between the United States and the Republic of China, which was enacted in 1955. It became effective in 1955 up until 1980. Again, that's a limited time period, but it did exist where the United States, under the treaty, in Article 2, it says, in order to more effectively to achieve the objective of this treaty, the parties, being Taiwan and the United States, separately and jointly, by self-help and mutual aid, will maintain and develop their individual and collective capacity to resist armed attack and communist subversive activities directed from without against their territorial integrity and political stability. This is a statement directly to China and the Communist Party of China, saying that they cannot be involved in Taiwan, that Taiwan is a separate nation, and that China does not have a right to encourage communism nor to militarily attack that nation. In fact, it also goes on to say in Article 5, each party recognizes that an armed attack in the West Pacific area directed against the territories of either of the parties, being the United States and Taiwan, would be dangerous to its own peace and safety, and declares that it would act to meet the common danger in accordance with its constitutional processes. That is the United States saying through this treaty that they would militarily defend Taiwan. It goes on to say, and any such armed attack and all measures taken as a result thereof shall be immediately reported to the Security Council of the United Nations. Such measures shall be terminated when the Security Council has taken the measures necessary to restore and maintain international peace and security. This Mutual Defense Treaty, which existed from 1955 until 1980, is the United States saying that we would militarily defend Taiwan, which is what Joe Biden has said. And he has said it several times, that the United States has an obligation. We have a commitment to Taiwan. And that is true. from 1955 until 1980. Part of that time is part of the 48 years that Joe Biden has been in the United States government as either a senator or beyond. That's not accurate though, to what is going on today. Today, and since 1980, the United States has the Taiwan Relations Act, which is not the same thing. The Taiwan Relations Act, as described by the United States Department of State on May 5th of 2022, in reaction to the many statements by Joe Biden conflicting with the current status, where the United States does not explicitly believe that Taiwan is a separate nation, nor does it believe that China has a right to invade Taiwan. We basically are straddling a middle of the road approach. We are on the fence. We are neither for nor against. State Department says, though the United States does not have diplomatic relations with Taiwan, we have a robust unofficial relationship as well as an abiding interest in maintaining peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. The United States does not recognize Taiwan as an independent nation, but it does not also believe that China has a right to militarily invade Taiwan. According to the State Department on May 5th of 2022, they go on to say, consistent with the Taiwan Relations Act, the United States makes available defense articles and services as necessary to enable Taiwan to maintain a sufficient self-defense capability. The United States will not act militarily, but we will arm Taiwan. Going on, the United States continues to encourage the peaceful resolution of cross-strait differences consistent with the wishes and best interests of the people of Taiwan. The United States is on the side of Taiwan, but the United States will not take direct action against China, and the United States does not guarantee that we will defend the people of Taiwan militarily. So this flies directly in the face of what Joe Biden has said. The United States, according to the State Department on May 5th, the United States does not have an obligation or a commitment to provide for the people of Taiwan militarily. Yet Joe Biden has consistently said that we do, something that was true back in 1980, but not true in 2022. Now, some may say Joe Biden is mixed up sometimes, as we showed. Sometimes he gets confused on what he's talking about or the time frame that he's speaking about. That could be the case. Or Joe Biden could just be saying that he personally believes that the United States should militarily protect Taiwan, which is a very different statement than saying that a president of the United States is saying that the United States will protect Taiwan militarily. Those are different statements. And now you can start to see where some of the confusion comes in, because we have General Milley, who is advising Joe Biden militarily, at the same time that we have seen in the past that he has gone behind the back of the president to give aid and comfort to China, an enemy of the United States. And we know that Joe Biden, through his son Hunter Biden, has been involved in monetary contracts, tens of millions of dollars that their family has received that he benefits from. So it's confusing the relationship that exists between the Biden administration, the Communist Party of China, the military of the United States, and the best interest of the people of Taiwan as well as America. There's a lot of confusion. So Joe Biden said both yes and no to defending Taiwan. The State Department has come out since and said, well, we reiterate that we will abide by the Taiwan Relations Act, saying that we will support them with arms, but not that we would actually step in and help them. And the reaction amongst the public has been quite interesting. In fact, in a poll that came out today, this is a YouGov poll from May 23rd, earlier today. And we see that, and we took the poll ourselves, one of the key questions in the poll is, in the future, if an armed conflict were to arise between China and Taiwan, would you, the individuals taking the poll, support or oppose the United States intervening militarily to help protect Taiwan? The answer is 60% of those taking the poll since earlier today have said yes, they would support the United States using military action to support Taiwan, which is part of what Joe Biden said, although not all of it. They also asked the question, how concerned, if at all, are you about any possible retaliations from China to the United States because of Biden's words? 28% are very concerned. 30% are somewhat concerned. 58% of those taking the poll have some level of concern that Joe Biden may have caused a situation that will cause conflict between the United States and China. 58% think Joe Biden may be pushing the United States closer to an armed conflict with China over Taiwan. Two major superpower militaries fighting, and unlike what we see in Russia and Ukraine, this would require active intervention from the United States. And unlike the fight in the Ukraine that is currently ongoing, which is an economic battle between the United States and Russia, this would be an armed conflict. This would involve U.S. soldiers, individuals in America going to Taiwan to fight to protect that soil. We're not saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing. We're highlighting that people are concerned that Joe Biden doesn't appreciate the situation and he may be pushing China to a decision, much like he did with Russia and the Ukraine, that his early statement saying that he believes that Ukraine should appease Russia and give them the land, his comments that Russia is ultimately going to win, and that he would not step in to intervene to protect American citizens, all of these things being statements that could have given pause to Putin and Russia about actually taking an invasion forward. We can see from the Daily Mail, this article is from today, May 23rd, how White House has been forced to walk back a Biden claim on Taiwan for the third time in 9 months. Beijing tells Joe not to stand against the 1.4 billion Chinese people as aides are forced to clean up his remarks. That's important to understand. Joe Biden 3 times has made an allusion that the United States will abide by a 1980 treaty that does not exist anymore. That the United States will take military action that the White House and the rest of the Biden-Harris administration do not agree with and have walked back. Which brings a question of who's actually running the United States government, who's in charge of international policy, because the White House is correcting the president. The White House is correcting Joe Biden, and they're trying to tell us that what we are hearing from the leader of the United States is not the intention of the government of the United States. Something that we've not heard before. Something that doesn't make a lot of sense and brings up the question, who's actually running this? Who's actually running these international scenarios? Is it General Miley, who has a vested interest in China based on his previous actions? Is it Kamala Harris, who has ambitions to become the first female president? Is it the individuals who have done business dealings with Hunter Biden to the benefit of Joe Biden monetarily? And we know that this is something that is being highlighted by other nations. Other nations are very concerned. Where does, not just Joe Biden, where does the American government actually stand? Everyone has noticed that Joe Biden said, yes, that is the commitment we made. But in doing so, it goes beyond the official American government foreign policy of strategic ambiguity, which helps arm Taiwan and its government, but is vague on how far Washington would actually go in protecting freedom. And China had an immediate reaction, as reported by The Guardian, stated today, May 23rd.
中方对美方的言论表示 强烈不满和坚决反对。
Are you willing to get involved militarily to defend Taiwan if it comes to that?
Yes,
You are.
that's a commitment we made.
台湾是中国领土不可分割的一部分，台湾问题纯属中国内政，不容任何外部势力干涉。在涉及中国主权和领土完整等核心利益问题上，中方没有任何妥协。
This may be the most important part of his statement. There is no room for compromise or concession. Let's go on.
别退让余地。任何人不要低估中国人民捍卫国家主权和领土完整的坚强决心、坚定意志、强大能力。不要站在14亿中国人民的对立面。
Let me show you that statement again from China. There is no room for compromise or concession. China has drawn a line, a very clear line, that Joe Biden cannot defend Taiwan, and that if it does, the full ire and military might of China will be used. Now, this is a threat going to Joe Biden. We see from David Sachs, an expert on U.S.-China relations at the Council on Foreign Affairs. And he says, quote, I'm kind of old-fashioned where I think that what the president says, especially in terms of matters of war and peace, and when push comes to shove, if China were to use force against Taiwan, there's only one person who could order the United States to come to Taiwan's defense, and that's the President of the United States, not a spokesperson in the White House or the National Security Council or the State Department. Now, that's not entirely correct. Because of the Taiwan Relations Act, Congress would actually have to authorize military action to defend Taiwan, at least after the first 30 days. But initially, it is true under the War Powers Act that the United States could, by a president, send in troops to initially fight on the side of Taiwan. But this is where the confusion comes from, because we have seen this stated before, and we have seen the American government backtrack on the statements by Joe Biden. And Taiwan has made it very clear internationally that they do not believe that the Biden administration can get a coalition to work against them, that they do not believe the Biden administration can use the same tactics that it has used in Ukraine versus Russia against China versus Taiwan. In fact, they said that, as reported by the BBC News, Beijing's foreign ministry spokesman, Wang Weibin, I believe I pronounced that correctly, and that's this individual as we showed you earlier, he stated that not only did he state that Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory, there is no room for compromise or concession, as we showed you, he went on to say, the Taiwan question and the Ukraine issue are fundamentally different. To compare those two is absurd. We once again urge the United States to abide by the one China principle. That means that economic sanctions won't work against China, at least according to China, and that they don't believe the United States can put together a coalition of international nations that would subject China to the same kind of economic sanctions that the United States has championed against Russia, which has had mixed results to date and has not ceased any of the fighting that we have seen going on. And China again asked Biden to reaffirm the one China policy, which again, you can see why it's confusing when we see that Joe Biden, as we showed you from CBS, he says yes, and he also says that the United States abides by the one China policy. They are diametrically opposed. They are not clear. China is making it clear they are confused what Joe Biden is talking about. Is Joe Biden saying that the United States will take a new stance and defend Taiwan militarily? Or is the United States saying that they will stay out of it because China has a one China policy and they claim that Taiwan is part of their nation? Which statement is being made? This is China making a clear statement that they want America out of this issue, and they want America to make it clear for the world that they will not get involved. This puts the United States at a crossroads because potentially, while this may not happen tomorrow, down the road, based on the statements of Joe Biden, this could encourage China to take over Taiwan. If they have a belief, like we have seen in Ukraine, if there is a belief that Joe Biden is weak, if Joe Biden doesn't have resolve, or he doesn't have the full trust, faith, and confidence of the United States military, or even the rest of the United States government in his decisions, then China may well be able to go into Taiwan and take it over militarily. It is that same kind of confusion between Joe Biden and the military and the rest of the White House administration that led to the complete and abject failure in Afghanistan. It is the same kind of disconnect that led to Joe Biden making statements that seemed across the world to encourage Vladimir Putin to take over the Ukraine. And now we see that that is what has happened. Because there is no clear definition on what is the Biden international policy. And every time that we've seen Kamala Harris take part in international policy, the result has been worse than before she showed up, as we saw in her actions in South Korea, as we saw in her actions in dealing with South America, Central and South America, and the U.S. border. In every instance, we've seen Kamala Harris get worse results, and we've seen Joe Biden adding to confusion internationally. In fact, and many would be able to conclude, based on the results, he has encouraged the Taliban. He encouraged Vladimir Putin. And the results have been bad for the United States, to say the least. And it has endangered Americans, both in Afghanistan and in Ukraine, and internationally, as the conflict grows and global stability decreases. The American people aren't being told what's going on. In fact, it's very difficult to find a U.S. national media, a large major news media company, that will tell us what China is actually saying. We have to go overseas, as we've just shown you, to get the response from China that has already been released. We understand Joe Biden can be very difficult to understand. Consequences that have massive impact across the globe, whether it be ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the Taliban having a safe haven, having a nation and international credibility that never existed before, with a military to back up that national status, whether it's with the Vladimir Putin and the impact on oil and wheat and fertilizer affecting the entire globe and helping to contribute to riots that we are seeing around the world in Sri Lanka and elsewhere in the world at this moment, and a future forecast of not only an economic recession in the United States, but also because of food shortages in the United States. And this is why it is important and why the world is confused at this moment. We see stability decrease. We saw several coups that happened in Africa because of that same kind of combination of factors directly tied to the non-existent international policy of the Biden-Harris administration. And we've been talking about that on this channel literally since January 22nd of 2021, when the Biden administration increased the exposure of U.S. troops into the Syrian civil war. Joe Biden, either because of his personal beliefs or because he believes it's 1980, believes the United States has a commitment to militarily defend Taiwan. This in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing, if we could be confident that that is exactly what Joe Biden believes, that the United States should either abide by that initial treaty or that that is something important for world freedom and peace. But we can't be sure of that, because Joe Biden, at the same time he makes that statement, has said that he believes in a China first, a one China policy. And we know that Joe Biden has many connections to the Communist Party of China through his son, and he has an administration that has worked closely with China against the best interest of the United States, and as exemplified by General Mark Milley. And as much as American media wants to prop up the Biden-Harris administration yet again, much like they have told us that we have a great economy, much like they have told us not to be afraid, that's just not a clear answer. That is their desire for how we should feel, but that doesn't necessarily reflect the reality in the world, nor the international reaction to the statements being made. We believe it's time that Joe Biden sits down with his White House and to speak to his generals to come up with a clear and definitive international policy. At the very least, a clear and definitive stance when it comes to Taiwan and aggression from China. That we can have something that both China can understand without question and that the people of Taiwan can rely on. We don't seem to be getting that. And in the face of that confusion, we are looking at nations that are saying this might be the time to take action. We could be seeing China gearing up and moving forward, thinking that Joe Biden is both inept and weak. But perhaps you disagree. Perhaps you see the comments from Joe Biden as being stronger than we believe they are. Perhaps you see more clarity than the rest of the world has so far been able to discern. If so, we look forward to seeing your comments and your statements about that. And we look forward to hearing from you every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to share your thoughts about this and other issues that are affecting everyone across the globe. We thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.